Art is a really interesting thing. And what interests me most about it is that art is subjective. There is no right, there is no wrong, there is no this is the way that it should be. Art is, the interpretation of the viewer, the listener, the consumer of said art. The artist himself or herself, has an explanation for what they did and why they did it, but it is up to those who view the art to determine what it means to them. And it's really interesting for me to think about the fact that photography is inherently art. You might be smacking yourself in the head going, yeah, obviously. But it's like, to me, sometimes I have to detach the idea that it's not just people taking photos or making photos. It is art. And recently I've asked myself, well, what is the art of photography? What is it the art of? Is it the art of just taking photos? I've heard people say that it's the art of manipulating light. I've heard a million different things about what photography is. And I'm sitting there in the car driving home one day and I'm thinking like, what really is the art of photography? Because what I consider the art of photography, other people might not consider it the same thing. Because, it can be the mastery of certain skills. It can be the manipulation of light. It can be a bunch of different things. There's no right or wrong answer about what it is. So I want to take some time today to talk about what I personally believe the art of photography is. But before I get into all that, per usual, if you're a returning viewer, welcome back. And if you've never seen my face, never seen one of my videos, my name is McKenna. I own a digital media company called Studio SB Creatives. And like I said, today we're going to be discussing what my personal opinion on what the art of photography is. I must preface this video by saying that everything is subjective. Again, it's art. It is subjective. So my opinions might not align with what you personally believe when it comes to photography. So first, let's look at what people classify as the art of photography. First, starting with the lighting people. If you go to a studio or if you're a portrait photographer, you might say that the art of photography is how you manipulate and use light. They think that, or they say that, I should say, because they do use not only natural light, but they also use studio light. They also use, consistent lights. They also use flashes. They use backlighting, side lighting, key lighting, and just secondary lighting. And it's like they use all these different pieces to create this photo, this picture, this piece that takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of trial and error. It takes a lot of knowledge to get to, the end goal of said photos. And it really does take a long time to master those things. And it's, I completely agree with those people. I think that photography is the art of lighting to some degree. I don't agree with them in the sense that that is what photography is. That is what the art of photography is. I think that manipulation of light helps you make good photos, helps you take good photos. I don't think good photos alone are the standard for what is considered good photography. I think that those two work together, but I firmly believe that they are inherently separate. I believe that good photography is made up of good photos, but I do not believe that all good photos are necessarily good photography. And I know that that might sound crazy or that might not make any sense at all. And that's okay. We will, as I talk a little bit more, we will get to where I am going with that thought. But it comes to, people who use lighting and off-camera flashes and whatever else, it's like I can look at those photos and say, damn, that is a good photo. I can appreciate the time, the effort, the amount of learning and trial and error that went into learning how to take photos like that. But I do not believe that that is the end-all, be-all of photography. I also believe that the people who say that, oh, it's just composition. You have to know your rule of thirds and how to place things and how to do this. And I also agree with that. I think that composition is what makes art good. But does it make good art is the question. Because you know how to place things. Like, let's think about like still photography, still painting, product photography, and even music. All of those types of things, they have composition. They know how to position things in such a way that everything looks cohesive. And for me, the people who argue that, I think that that is the bare minimum. I think that is like the first thing that you should have mastered is the art of composition. I was literally just looking at old photos that I've taken over the years, and my compositions were atrocious. They were terrible. And through trial and error, I learned how to make better compositions. But it's like the compositions were bad, but the photos weren't necessarily bad, which is kind of where that whole thing comes in, where it's like good photos are like, don't make good photography, but good photography consists of good photos. It's one of those things where it's like I would look at portraits that I used to take, and I was too far zoomed in, or I didn't have something lined up on the rule of thirds like I should have, and I just did all these things wrong. But that doesn't mean that I took a bad photo. It just meant that I had bad composition. I think that composition helps photos look better. But I don't think that just because you know how to compose an image that you are making or taking good photography. So then that leaves the question, what is it that I personally believe the art of photography is? And I believe that it's an umbrella. I believe that it is lighting. It is composition. It is knowledge. It is, trial and error. But the thing that I think makes good photography versus just a good photo are two things. First thing being that I believe there is also an art of timing in photography. I think the people who've made a career out of studio photography and, portraits and everything of that kind of nature, they take great photos. And I'm not discrediting that at all. And I believe that it is itself an art form, but I don't believe that it's the art of photography. And I don't believe that because those photos can be recreated by other people. That same lighting setup, those same poses, those same positions, that copy, paste, cookie cutter photography that people do, there's a lot of different people who do it. There's a lot of people who execute it well. There's a lot of people who don't. And then there's, people who've completely mastered that sector of photography. And everybody is talented, and I'll give everybody their flowers in their own right. I don't think that alone just makes good photography. It's reproducible. There's something about the production of it where I'm like, yeah, it's cool. It looks great, but anybody can do it with the right tools and the right knowledge. Again, I'm not discrediting these people because I know that these people have taken a long time to build a career centered around that subgenre of photography. I can't do it, not yet, but I've never really taken the time to learn how. But I know that there is a process. I know that there is a blueprint for it. And I don't think something that can be reproduced is inherently art. Art can be imitated, but you can't reproduce the exact same thing. And when it comes to photography, certain types, you absolutely can reproduce them. But you might, I'm not saying literally you can take the exact same photo as somebody else. Obviously, that's not possible. But you can follow the guidelines almost to the exact point and take a photo that's damn near identical. And if you can reproduce things like that, is it art? Is it not? That's up for interpretation. In my personal opinion, I don't believe so. Which leads me to the second thing, which not only do I believe photography is an art of timing, being in the right place at the right time to take the right photo, but good photography to me does what good art does in any form. And that is that it evokes some spiritual, emotional response deep, deep, deep in my soul where I look at that photo and I am just in awe. I am amazed and enthralled that somebody somewhere was able to take a photo like that, whatever it may be. And it's like, the reason that those feelings come up is because I see certain photos as just so unique, so one of one, that it just can't be replicated. Like, you could do something similar, you could try and imitate it to the best of your ability, but you'll never be able to recreate it. You'll never be able to do what that person did, because it was the right time. And it really is so unique that you feel it in your soul, and you're just like, damn, like, why couldn't that be me? That's what I think the art of photography is. I think it is an umbrella of all the things that people believe: the lighting, the composition, the understanding of the structure of what makes photography good. But I also believe that there's an element of luck. I believe that, the best photos are taken not on accident, but just at the right time in the world. Like, the most famous photos of all time, you look at them and you're like, yeah, nobody else could have done that. Nobody else could have taken that photo, no matter how hard they tried. That person just happened to be in the right place at the right time in history with a camera to stop and freeze that moment forever. And that is what I use as the benchmark for my own photography. There's actually an account that I follow that I have been following forever. And they're an account or brand or store or whatever you want to call them by the name of House of Spoils. You might know them, you might not. I'll post their Instagram handle in the video or in the description. But basically what this page is they sell prints, but they have all these different photographers that sell prints through them. And they are truly just the most magnificent photos that I've ever seen. They all evoke this similar response within me where I'm like, geez. I'm like, why can't I do that? Why couldn't I be the person to take, these certain photos? And not all of the photos that are on there make me feel that way or, have the same impact as others. But the grand majority of them, I believe, are curated to be under that same theme, under that, give you that same feeling. And there's one photo in particular. It's not my favorite photo. It's not the best photo that I've ever seen, but it is the photo that I saw that made me want to make this video. And I don't know who the photo is by. I will be sure to tag them when I post this video. But what it is this photographer took this picture of this like rock arch where you could see straight through it. And through the arch, there was a sailboat perfectly centered in between the arch. And then at the same time, there's a silhouette of a person cliff diving off this like rock face. And to get that person diving at the right time with that sailboat, right in between those rocks, if you wanted to recreate that photo, you would need so much organization, and even so, you might not be able to recreate it. And it truly is one of the most unique photos that represents composition, lighting, timing. It hits the trifecta. And then I look at it and I'm just like, it's unbelievable. It is so surreal that somebody somewhere was able to capture that photo. I have a hard time believing that it was a staged photo because I don't know how you'd be able to do that. And even if it was, the amount of time and effort that went into doing that and create something so just one of one is incredible to me. So at the end of the day, art is a very subjective thing, if not the most subjective thing that exists in the universe. Art makes people feel things, but it'll never make two people feel the same way. Whether it be photography, whether it be a painting, whether it be music, art is meant to be subjective. It is meant to be interpreted by the people who look at it from an outside perspective. What the artist thought or felt while they were making it might not have anything to do with what the viewer or consumer of that art feels or felt when they looked at it. And that's what I love about it. There's no right or wrong answer when it comes to what is art. That's something that I learned way, way back, probably in like grade school, where it was art class, so it was like paintings, but it's like, is the person who paints realism better than the abstract expressionist. It's apples to oranges. You can't compare it. Yes, it's both used with paint on a canvas, but they're so different that calling one art and the other not, you can't do that because they both are art. But who considers it art it's individual. It's up to you. Is it art? Is it not? Are you right? Are you wrong? I don't think that you are or aren't. I don't think that there is a yes or no. Art is art. It is meant to be subjective, and it is meant to make you feel things. And there are types of photography that make me feel things. Then there are types of photography that just don't really make me feel anything, at least not below like surface level feelings. So that's my talk of the day. What is the art of photography? Who knows? I believe that everybody has a different interpretation of what the art of photography is. And I believe that it's up to you to decide. But I just wanted to make a video giving you my 2 cents about what I believe it is. So that's where I'm going to wrap this one up. If you like this video, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. If you want to talk about what you believe the art of photography is, what is it to you, actually? Because I'd really like to hear. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Is there some middle ground? Do you agree with some of the things that I said and disagree with others? Like I said, I've heard a million different things about what the art of photography is, and I don't know what to believe. I don't know who's right, who's wrong, if anyone is or isn't. And I'd like to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment. I want to know why. I want to know why you think that the art of photography is something other than what I believe, because I think that would just make for really interesting discussion. I'm not talking about a discussion where you try and prove your point, because you're not going to be able to. I would love nothing more than to actually have some comments on this video about what you believe the art of photography is. And then, like always, if you want to see more content like this, you want to see what crazy adventures I get up to in the future, because they're coming. I promise you. I don't have anything scheduled yet. But like I said, we just went on a big trip, and I've still got content coming from that. It's just I've been so busy that I haven't really had time to put together everything that I've been trying to do. I've just literally just been trying to keep my head above water recently. So, we're making it work though. And then, of course, if you just want to see more of my face, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And I will see you on the next one.